Hello, this is a continuation of Sick of Bruises, written by Bunny0980, read by Stick. Chapter 13, Panic Attack, Number 2. Summary: Izuku has a panic attack and comes to a realization. Trigger warning for a panic attack. Standing in front of the door to the bar, Izuku kept his hand on the doorknob as he tried to make himself open it. He didn't really have another choice. Well, unless he wanted to be homeless, or go to an orphanage, or possibly live with the Bakugos. All those options were horrible, so Izuku was left here. He had decided to walk to the bar, not having the courage to ask Kurogiri to teleport him. Also, it gave him time to think about that cute boy he had met. He had seemed annoyed at first, but when Izuku started talking about what was wrong, he not only gave some probably good advice, but gave Izuku his number. Nobody ever gave Izuku their number. He was the worthless, useless, quirkless freak. Wait, no. Tomura said to stop saying that stuff. But the purple-haired teen, who was his age, had given him his number, and Izuku didn't even know his name. Why were strangers so much nicer to him than the people he had known his entire life? First Tomura and Kurogiri, then this teen? And they all knew he was quirkless too. It was very strange. Tomura and Kurogiri were possibly the first people to actually enjoy spending time with him, even after learning about his diagnosis. So maybe they wouldn't mind if he asked to stay with them. There was only one way to find out. With a shaky breath, Izuku finally managed to open the door. He walked in to see Kurogiri stationed behind the counter, like usual, and looking at the door that had just been opened. "Oh, Izuku, I thought you were going home. Did something happen?" In contrast to his words, Kurogiri's smoke seemed to lighten, if only a bit, when Izuku walked in. Well, how to phrase this? Izuku didn't exactly want to admit that his mom had kicked him out. That wasn't typically something that you would say offhandedly. Except if you were talking to a certain purple-haired stranger, apparently. I think I'm gonna stay here if that's okay. You're not going home? Izuku looked away as his hands curled into fist. I don't think so, if that's okay. Why, of course it's okay. I'm simply just confused. You can stay here as long as you want, whether that's hours or months or more. Immediately, all the tension leaked out of Izuku as tears came to his eyes. Thank you. It had been 2 days now since Izuku had asked to stay at the bar. Kurogiri and Tomura still didn't really know why, but they hadn't tried to push him, which Izuku was eternally grateful for. He still didn't feel good, but he was just trying to ignore that for now. He kept telling himself that everything was fine, even if it wasn't. If he didn't do that, he was sure he'd start crying again. Currently, he was sitting on the couch and scrolling through his phone, as Kurogiri wiped glasses in the kitchen. Tomura was out, probably looking for a new game. They stayed like that for a while, just relaxing. It was nice. Everything was fine, and then it wasn't. Izuku continued scrolling through his phone, but his eyes caught on a picture of a nice, happy family. There was a mom, dad, and a little boy. The mom was bending down to pat his head as he showed off his quirk, some kind of water manipulation, while the dad just looked lovingly at the mom. They were whole and happy. No absent father, no neglectful mother, no quirkless child. And just like that, the world seemed to blur around the edges as Izuku's breaths quickened. His throat tightened, and before he knew it, his eyes were filling with tears. He kept looking at the photo of what his life could have been, and everything seemed to crash down all at once. Useless, idiot, quirkless, stupid dreamer, weak. He couldn't focus on anything else. It was all too much, and it felt like nothing would ever be okay again. Izuku. His head shot up to look at the misty figure coming towards him. His hands were up in a placating position, but Izuku couldn't focus on that now. His breath became even faster as he realized the tears sliding down his face. He was being a burden, and was probably ruining this guy's day, and he didn't deserve whatever the misty man was trying to do. Izuku, breathe with me. Immediately, Izuku followed the command. He focused on the comforting hand that had found its way to his chest as he closed his eyes and tried to listen to what the man was saying. A breathing pattern? It seemed impossibly hard, but Izuku was used to listening to people. That was familiar. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're doing great. Within a few minutes, his breathing slowed and he remembered where he was. Izuku opened his eyes to see Kurogiri on his knee in front of him. He had long since dropped his phone, so when he recognized the misty man, he didn't even have to think about it before he hugged him. Kurogiri seemed surprised, but didn't try to stop him. Instead, he hugged the teen back and moved to the couch, seemingly not caring about how wet Izuku was making his suit. They stayed there, hugging as Izuku cried his eyes out. Eventually he calmed down, but still, neither dared to move. Izuku, are you feeling better? Izuku nodded into the misty man's suit. He had stopped crying by this point, but he didn't feel like moving. Would you be able to tell me what happened? He thought about the question. Before nodding his head, he took a shaky breath. Well, when I went back to the house, my mom, she kicked me out. Didn't even ask where I had been. He whispered. He didn't even have the strength to speak any louder. Kurogiri stayed silent for a little while before answering. I'm very sorry that happened. He spoke softly. It was comforting. No adult had ever been so kind to Izuku. For what it's worth, you will always have a place here. Your mother was wrong to leave you. She doesn't deserve you. Izuku turned the words over in his head, still hugging Kurogiri. He felt safe. For the first time in his life, probably, he had found somewhere he felt safe, where they didn't treat him like china or a punching bag, where he wasn't looked at with pity, anger, or disgust. And it was with villains, the type of people he had promised he would beat up as a kid, the type of people who tried to destroy society. But maybe that wasn't so bad. Izuku had been hurt, bruised, broken. He had tried so hard to be liked, because he was the quirkless weakling, the punching bag, the charity case. He wasn't ever treated like a person. He stayed out of his mom's way, so she wouldn't be inconvenienced. He didn't fight back at school, because he had been taught he was weak. He didn't ask for help anymore, because no one had ever bothered to help him before. Why would that change now? Izuku hadn't deserved any of that treatment. No one did. Not Tomura, who assumed Izuku would run away screaming as soon as he saw his quirk. Not that teen he had met, who seemed surprised Izuku even talked to him after revealing his quirk. And society didn't care to stop any of that treatment. Warmth surrounded him, as he was hugged by a misty villain who had just calmed him down from a panic attack, as he sat in the familiar bar that had felt more like home than anything else ever had. He made his decision right there and then. Izuku would never be a hero. Society would never let that happen. But he wasn't weak. He wasn't expendable. He wasn't just there for others to get quirk practice. No one was. He would prove it.